Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everything you ever thought would make you happy was actually a lie. That all the striving, all the chasing, all the dreaming was just a cycle spinning endlessly, powered by a machine you never asked to build. This is not a nightmare. This is the beginning of the most powerful awakening you will ever experience. Today, we are about to dive into the mind of Arthur Schopenhauer, and if you stay with me, you will unlock a cure for pessimism so profound that your life will never be the same again. But beware, once you see it, you will never be able to unsee it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
When I first encountered Schopenhauer's philosophy, I felt like someone had set my soul on fire, not with hope, but with a blinding, brutal clarity. He taught that life is suffering, that existence itself is a relentless will to live, an endless craving that can never be satisfied. At first, it sounds devastating, doesn't it? But here's the twist. In accepting this, in seeing life as it is without illusions, we find a strange, almost sacred liberation. What if, instead of resisting the pain of existence, we embraced it like an old friend? How different would your life feel if you stopped expecting it to be something it was never designed to be? We often think that pessimism is a disease of the mind, a darkness to be banished. But Schopenhauer shows us that it is, in fact, a door to a deeper, more authentic way of existing. I want you to imagine for a second if you had no expectations whatsoever from life, no demands, no shoulds. How light would your heart become? Would you even recognize yourself without the chains of constant wanting, constant hoping, constant disappointment? Deep down, do you feel that you are chasing something you can never catch? If so, keep listening, because we're about to rip that illusion apart. Schopenhauer believed that the will, this blind, insatiable drive that courses through all living beings, is the root of all suffering. We are puppets, he said, dancing to the strings of desire, never realizing that the puppet master is inside us. Every time you think, if only I had this, then I would be happy, you tighten the noose a little more around your own spirit. Every promotion, every relationship, every dream car is just another mirage. How many times in your life have you achieved something you desperately wanted, only to find that the happiness faded almost instantly? How many victories turned hollow the moment you grasped them? The first shocking advice Schopenhauer gives us is this: stop believing that fulfillment lies in the future. The future is a liar. It promises salvation but delivers only new forms of craving. Real peace comes not from achieving but from ceasing to crave. But when we understand that wanting itself is the prison, not the lack of what we want, we begin to taste a freedom most people will never know. Think about it. If you could want nothing, if you could extinguish the flames of desire at their root, what could the world possibly do to harm you? No loss would shatter you. No failure would define you. No unmet dream would poison your soul. Now, you might be thinking, but if I give up wanting, won't I become a lifeless shell? A zombie, wandering through existence without passion? This is the fear that keeps most people chained to their suffering. But Schopenhauer offers a different vision. He invites us to step beyond the binary of craving and apathy into a third state, pure being, pure perception. When we stop demanding that life entertain us, please us, reward us, we start to see it in its raw, breathtaking beauty. A simple tree, a note of music, a glance from a stranger, these become miracles, not because they fulfill a need, but because they simply are. At this point, you might wonder, is it really possible to live like this? to walk through life with open eyes but an unburdened heart. I won't lie to you, it's not easy. It requires constant vigilance, a warrior's discipline. But every moment you succeed in detaching from the tyranny of desire, you reclaim a piece of your soul. You become a little lighter, a little freer, a little more real. How much of your current suffering is self-inflicted, born not from reality, but from your refusal to accept it? Perhaps the most radical part of Schopenhauer's cure is his call to embrace art, music, and contemplation as pathways out of the will's domination. When we lose ourselves in a symphony, when we gaze into a painting and forget ourselves, we momentarily escape the endless churning of desire. Art becomes a sanctuary, a place where the will is silent and we exist in pure awareness. Imagine if you could live more and more of your life in that sacred silence. Wouldn't that be a kind of heaven on earth? But don't mistake this for escapism. Schopenhauer is not asking us to flee reality. He is demanding that we face it more honestly than we ever have. He is asking us to see life's pain and beauty without flinching, without reaching for comforting lies. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to look existence in the face and say, I see you and I accept you exactly as you are? As we dive deeper, I want you to reflect on a brutal but liberating question. If nothing you achieve could ever bring you permanent happiness, what should you strive for instead? Should you strive at all? Or is there a higher form of living, one that begins only when striving ends? In Schopenhauer's world, the highest form of human existence is not the conqueror, not the billionaire, not even the philosopher. It is the ascetic, the one who renounces the will and lives in serene detachment. But this doesn't mean you have to live in a cave or wear sackcloth. It means learning the art of inner renunciation, even as you move through the world. You can still build, love, dream, but without the poison of desperate craving. You can engage with life without being enslaved by it. Imagine carrying your dreams lightly, holding them like birds in an open hand rather than clenching them in a death grip. Imagine loving people not because you need them to complete you, but because their existence itself is a gift. Imagine working not for glory or wealth, but for the sheer beauty of the act. Wouldn't that be a revolution not just in your life, but in your soul? A great tragedy of modern life is how rarely we are encouraged to think like this. Everything around us screams for more money, more followers, more experiences, more everything. But Schopenhauer whispers a dangerous, intoxicating truth: less is more. Freedom is subtraction, not addition. Happiness is not something you achieve, it is something you uncover when all the illusions fall away. As the first part of our journey comes to a close, I want you to sit with this question: what are you willing to give up in order to be truly free? What illusions, what dreams, what lies are you ready to burn to the ground so that something real can rise from the ashes? When we decide to go deeper into Schopenhauer's cure, we are not just playing with ideas anymore. We are stepping into a battlefield. The enemy is not out there in the world, it is within us, coiled deep in our instincts, whispering that happiness lies just one more achievement away. Every time we believe that whisper, we tighten the chains around our own necks. Every time we chase another illusion, we dig the pit of suffering a little deeper. How often have you thought, if I just get this one thing, then I'll finally be at peace, only to find yourself restless again within days? Schopenhauer teaches us that the will is a hunger that can never be fed. No matter how much you pour into it, it will still cry out for more. This is not just an idea, it is a law of nature, as solid and unavoidable as gravity. The moment you satisfy one desire, another springs up in its place, like a hydra growing 2 heads for every one you cut off. So the only real victory is not to feed the monster, but to starve it. Have you ever wondered what would happen if, just once, you refused to play the game? If you said, "No, I will not chase, I will not crave, I will not believe the lie of future happiness." This refusal is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of rebellion. In a world obsessed with endless striving, to step back and say, "I am enough, this moment is enough," is a revolutionary act. But it's an act that demands everything from you. It demands that you let go not just of your external ambitions, but of the internal addiction to wanting itself. It demands that you face the terrifying silence that rushes in when you stop distracting yourself with dreams. Are you brave enough to meet that silence? Are you strong enough to sit with it until it transforms from terror into peace? Schopenhauer doesn't leave us alone in this battle. He points us toward certain practices that can help us escape the will's domination. One of the most powerful is the contemplation of beauty. When we lose ourselves in a beautiful sunset, a piece of music, a work of art, we forget ourselves. We forget our cravings, our fears, our ambitions. For a moment, we are pure awareness, pure presence. In that moment, the will is silent. Have you ever had an experience so beautiful that, just for an instant, you forgot all your problems, all your plans, all your desires? That moment was a glimpse of freedom. If we can learn to cultivate these moments, not by chasing them, but by opening ourselves to them, we can begin to live more and more of our lives outside the prison of the will. But here's the paradox: you cannot force these moments to happen. You cannot will yourself into non-willing. You must relinquish control, surrender the desperate need for things to be different from how they are. How often do you truly surrender like that? How often do you allow life to simply be, without demanding that it entertain you or reward you? Another pathway Schopenhauer offers us is compassion. At first, this might seem surprising. Compassion. Isn't that just another form of desire, the desire for others to be happy? But Schopenhauer's compassion is deeper than that. It is the recognition that all beings are caught in the same tragic web of suffering and desire. When we see this clearly, we stop judging others harshly. We stop seeing them as competitors in the race for happiness and start seeing them as fellow prisoners, fellow travelers. But imagine how your relationships would change if you saw everyone this way, not as obstacles or tools, but as companions in a shared struggle. Compassion, in Schopenhauer's philosophy, is not sentimental. It is fierce. It is the willingness to look at the suffering of the world without turning away. It is the courage to say, yes, life is painful, and yet I will love anyway. Can you love like that, not because you expect anything in return, but simply because love itself is a rebellion against the cruelty of existence? As we absorb these teachings, we start to realize something profound. Pessimism is not despair. It is clarity. It is the stripping away of illusions so that we can finally see life as it is, and in seeing it, love it more fiercely, more honestly than we ever thought possible. True pessimism is not giving up, it is giving up the lies. It is refusing to be seduced by false promises so that you can live in truth. And truth, even when it is harsh, is always better than a comforting illusion. Let me ask you a question that might shake you to your core. If you knew that life would never give you lasting happiness, would you still choose to live it? Would you still get up in the morning, breathe in the cool air, look at the sky, and smile just because you exist? Or would you crumble under the weight of that knowledge? Your answer to this question defines your soul more than any achievement ever could. Schopenhauer's cure for pessimism is not about making life easier. It is about making us stronger. It is about teaching us to find joy not in fleeting pleasures, but in existence itself. It is about learning to say yes to life, even when life says no to all our hopes and dreams. It is about becoming a warrior of the spirit, armed not with illusions, but with unshakable acceptance. And yet, acceptance does not mean passivity. It does not mean sitting in a corner and letting life roll over you. It means engaging with life fully, but without the secret expectation that it will ever finally satisfy you. It means working, loving, creating, but doing so with a light heart, a heart that knows the game is rigged and plays it anyway, for the sheer beauty of the play. Imagine living that way. Imagine chasing your dreams not because you believe they will save you, but because the chase itself is a dance, a song, a celebration. Imagine loving others not because they complete you, but because their existence is a miracle you are lucky to witness. Imagine waking up every day not with a desperate hunger for more, but with a quiet, fierce gratitude for what is. This is the life Schopenhauer offers us. It is not an easy life, but it is a true one. It is not a life free from pain, but it is a life free from the lies that make pain unbearable. It is a life of clarity, of compassion, of courage. As we prepare to enter the final part of our journey, I want you to hold this question in your heart. If you could live without illusions, would you choose to? If you could see life naked, stripped of all its comforting myths, would you dare to love it anyway? Now that we stand at the threshold of Schopenhauer's final and most profound secret, we must ask ourselves one last time, are we ready? Are we ready to let go of every dream that promised salvation, every story that comforted our weary hearts? Because beyond this point, there is no turning back. The world will not look the same once you see it through these eyes. You will walk among others who are still chasing the ghosts of happiness, but you will know a different truth, a truth that will both isolate you and set you free. The ultimate cure for pessimism, according to Schopenhauer, is not to fight suffering, not to deny it, but to transcend the very structure of desire itself. It is to cultivate a state of mind so detached, so serene, that the endless cycle of wanting and suffering loses its grip over you. Imagine standing in the middle of a hurricane, untouched by the winds, unmoved by the chaos. This is not indifference, it is supreme strength. It is the power to live fully without being owned by anything or anyone. Could you live like that, loving deeply, striving boldly, but never being a slave to the outcomes? The final state Schopenhauer hints at is what the mystics have always known, a state beyond personal will, beyond ego, beyond the endless I want. It is a state where the individual self dissolves into something larger, something timeless. Some call it nirvana, others call it enlightenment. Schopenhauer, ever the philosopher of the West, simply calls it the quiet extinguishing of the will. But don't be fooled. This is not a death of joy, but a birth of freedom. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most at peace. Were they the moments when you got everything you wanted? Or were they the moments when you let go, when you surrendered, when you simply were? What if peace has been hiding not in the fulfillment of desire, but in the death of it? What if the thing you've been searching for all along was not out there in the world, but right here, buried under layers of craving and fear? Schopenhauer's final gift to us is the realization that the world is a mirror of our desires. When we crave, the world appears hostile, lacking, cruel. When we cease craving, the world transforms, not outwardly, but inwardly. We see its beauty without needing to possess it. We feel its pain without needing to fix it. We walk through existence not as beggars pleading for scraps of happiness, but as kings and queens, rich beyond measure because we want for nothing. This is the shocking reversal at the heart of Schopenhauer's philosophy. True wealth is wanting less, not having more. True power is self-mastery, not domination over others. True joy is the absence of desperate need, not the endless acquisition of pleasures. How different would your life be if you truly believed this? How different would you be if right now you dropped every demand you have placed upon life and simply chose to really see what is? The journey to this state is not a straight line. It is a spiral, a dance, a series of deaths and rebirths. Every time you catch yourself craving, grasping, demanding, you have another opportunity to let go. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every failure is another teacher, another invitation to surrender. The life, in all its harshness, is conspiring to set you free, if only you have the courage to listen. Let me ask you one last, searing question. If you could live without needing life to make you happy, what would you do with this incredible freedom? What would you create? What would you love? How would you serve if you were no longer trying to save yourself through your actions? That is the life Schopenhauer calls us to. A life beyond hope and fear, beyond success and failure, beyond the endless hunger of the will. In practical terms, this means cultivating practices that weaken the will's grip on us. Meditation, contemplation, art, service to others, these are not luxuries, they are necessities for the soul. Every time you sit quietly and watch your breath, every time you lose yourself in a piece of music, every time you act out of pure compassion rather than selfish desire, you are stepping out of the prison. You are remembering who you really are, not a bundle of cravings, but a spark of awareness, vast and free. And when you forget, because you will forget, again and again, do not despair. Even the forgetting is part of the path. Every time you fall back into craving, you have the chance to remember more deeply, to let go more completely, and the spiral deepens. The dance continues. Life becomes not a burden to be endured, but a mystery to be lived. The beauty of Schopenhauer's cure is that it demands nothing external. You do not need to change the world. You do not need to fix yourself. You do not need to become someone else. Everything you need is already here, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to stop, to look, to see. Can you feel it now, that stillness beneath the noise, that peace beneath the striving? As we draw this journey to a close, I invite you to sit with one final, life-altering realization: you are already free. The prison was never real. The chains were made of air. All that is required is that you stop believing in them. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to step out of the dream of endless desire and into the reality of boundless being? Unlocking Schopenhauer's cure for pessimism is not about escaping life. It is about embracing it more fully than ever before. It is about living with eyes wide open, heart unarmored, soul unclenched. It is about saying yes, not to a fantasy, but to reality in all its brutal, beautiful imperfection. So here we are, at the end and the beginning. You have seen the chains, you have felt their weight, and now you know you can let them go. Will you? The choice is yours. The door is open. Step through it. And remember, the greatest freedom is not the freedom to get what you want. It is the freedom to want nothing, and in that nothingness to find everything. Thank you for walking this path with me. Together, we have glimpsed a truth that few dare to see. Now it's up to you to live it. Until next time, stay awake, stay free, stay real.